go for either myomectomy, will be totally getting rid of the fibroid, or you can go for hysterectomy in this particular type of lady. Now, as far as infertility is concerned, one or two last questions. Suppose the patient is also infertile. What is the size of fibroid up to which we can ignore it and go ahead with the treatment? What size we can ignore?
Last 1 minute, sir.
Yeah, 1 minute. Last question. If the patient is also infertile, up to what size we can just ignore and go ahead with
Sir,
IVF?
any fibroid that is not indenting the endometrium, we can ignore, sir.
Not any size, but one is correct.
okay.
Should not be indenting into the cavity, and size less than 5 centimeters. People debate 4 or 5, but you can say up to 5 centimeters. You can simply ignore, because we have seen patients do become pregnant even with fibroids, and they can continue. But if it is, yes, as you correctly said, if it is in the place of conception, implantation, if it is encroaching the cavity, then it is probably worthwhile removing. So I think I will wind up with this. Lily, you have the last question and last comments.
Okay, for the benefit of the postgraduates, be thorough, be systematic in the way you present the cases. Try to classify the cases based on history, on examination, how you would present it. Present it as you would present any surgical mass. Okay, so its relation, its movement, its exacerbating symptoms, its aggravating, relieving symptoms. Third thing is, when you are talking about patient and talking about management, you should also know in brief about LNG-IOS, in which kind of patients you put in LNG-IOS, where the cavity is not distorted and where it mainly reduces the blood flow. You need to know about laparoscopic hysterectomies, the way to reduce blood loss during laparoscopic hysterectomies, and how you can convert, what are the medical modalities you can use to convert an open abdominal hysterectomy into a laparoscopic hysterectomy or a non-descent vaginal. So also you need to be able to describe the steps and describe the risks of laparoscopic energy sources. I wish you all the best.
Yeah.
And we
one
hope
last
you come
comment
with
is
flying
you
colors
must
to be
also
our
know the
colleagues.
principles of myomectomy, which is nothing but hemoglobin should be minimum
More
10,
than 10.
and you should always use the hemostatic methods like vasopressin or other things, or tourniquet or a myomectomy clamp, midline minimal incision, and reduce the cavity size and antibiotics. So congratulations to all three of you, and it was extremely good staying again, working together. Dr. Lily, we were co-examiners for DNB.
Yes.
We had a nice session today. Again, I am reminded of that.
Wonderful. Yes. And happy Pongal to everybody. Congratulations to all the presenters and all the students who are with us until the very end. Okay, thank you. A wonderful program. I'd like to congratulate the organizers once more.
I would like to thank the Bahubali of the program, that is Dr. Padanyappan. He didn't say that. He described everybody else except Bahubali. I think he's the Bahubali. Thank you. We are done.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. It was indeed a wonderful experience hearing such esteemed professors being so PG friendly and giving their maximum points in 1 hour of time. Thank you so much, Muralidharan sir and Lily Varghese ma'am. We are indeed very much honored to have your have you here for the discussion, sir, ma'am. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Now we move on to our final case discussion. It would be on breach. Can I have the slide? Dr. Shobha ma'am, slide, please. It gives me immense pleasure in welcoming Dr. Shobha Goody ma'am. Madam is President of BSOG 2018, a chairperson of Family Welfare Committee, FOXY 1921, Secretary in Bangalore Menopause Society, an assessor of GOI Project Lakshya, a board member in FPAI, a peer reviewer in Jogi, an elected GSM ICOG 2021, an executive member in KSOGA. And I couldn't really fit all ma'am's achievements in one slide. She has plenty of organizational work, and Madam is a organizing secretary in many organizations, and she is affiliated as Professor HOD in Saint Philomena's Hospital, Bangalore. Next slide, please. Ma'am has received immense awards, Best Society Award in BSOG at State, KSOGA Award Community, and many publications under her credit. And she has many research work also under her process. Next slide, please. Next slide.
That's all we have, ma'am, about Shobha, ma'am.
No, Dr. Shamla. Ma'am.
So, about Shamla, ma'am, right?
Yes, yes. Gives me immense pleasure in.
Ma'am, 1 second, ma'am.
Can I continue, Divya?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Gives me immense pleasure in welcoming our own Dr. Shamla ma'am. She is a professor and senior consultant of SRMC with a teaching experience of more than 20 years. Madam's areas of specialization is in laparoscopy, infertility, and high-risk obstetrics. Madam is a member in IMA and OXY, and she has many publications to her credit. Over to you, ma'am. And
Thank you, Nandini.
this case, we
Good
have.
evening, madam.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. Good evening. Good evening, Shamla.
Good
Thank
evening,
you.
madam.
Thank you, Nandini, for that wonderful introduction for both of us. Thank you very much. You're all conducting the program very well. Who are the postgraduates for us?
We have Dr. Meenakshi from Kadlur GH. She is a second year DNB student. She will be presenting the case. Along with her, we have Dr. Niranjani, Dr. Sanju, and Dr. Devi. They will be the panelists, ma'am.
Okay. 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 Can you ask them to start, please? Yeah.
Meenakshi, please start presenting.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mrs. X, 28 years, aged, wife of Mr. Y, resident of Kanavepanpadi. She is a MSc graduate, belonging to upper middle class according to modified Kupuswamy scale. Primi gravida, married since 1.5 years, with LMP 10/4/2020 and EDD 17/1/2021. Gestation age 39 weeks 1 day, has come for safe confinement. History of presenting illness, first trimester, UPT positive on 35 days of amenorrhea, natural consumption, booked and immunized with Tirthanagiri PHC, folic acid supplementation taken from the day of confirming pregnancy, dating scan was taken and corresponds with gestation age. First dose of TD given at 11 weeks and GCT taken at 11 weeks was normal. No history of any bleeding or abnormal discharge per vaginum. No history of fever with rashes. No history of any drug intake or radiation exposure. Second trimester, second dose of TD was given at 15 weeks. Quickening felt at 5th month. Iron folic acid supplementation was taken regularly. All her BP recordings were normal. Anomaly scan was taken at 20 weeks and no anomalies detected. GCT was normal. Deworming tablet taken. No history of fever or any drug intake other than iron folic acid supplementation. No history of any discharge or bleeding per vaginum. Third trimester, she was able to purchase fetal movements. Iron folic acid supplementation taken regularly. Scan was growth scan was taken and it shows SLIUG breech presentation corresponding with the gestational age and placenta posterior. All her BP recordings were normal. No history of any fever. No history of bleeding, leaking or abnormal discharge per vaginum. Menstrual history. She attained menarche at 15 years of age. Regular cycles are 3 by 20 days, not associated with clots or pain. She changes 2 pads per day. Marital history, married since 1.5 years, non-consanguineous marriage. Past history, not a known case of diabetes, hypertension, pulmonary tuberculosis, bronchial asthma, epilepsy, thyroid, cardiac disorders or renal disorders. No history of any surgery in the past. No history of allergy to any medication. No history of any prolonged drug intake. Personal history, she takes mixed diet, bowel and bladder habits normal. No history of any drug abuse. No history of active or passive smoking, tobacco or betel nut chewing or alcohol intake. Family history, no history of any mentally retarded child or early deaths in the family. Examination, anthropometry, height 154 centimeters, pre-pregnancy weight 50 kilogram, BMI 21.08 kilogram per meter square, present weight is 61 kilogram, pregnancy weight gain is 11 kilogram. Vitals, temperature normal, pulse rate 80 per minute, regular rate, rhythm, volume, and character felt in all peripheral vessels. BP 110/70 millimeter of mercury measured in the right arm in sitting position. Respiratory rate 16 per minute. Systemic examination, CVS S1, S2 here, no murmur. RS, normal vesicular breath sound here, no added sound. General examination is moderately built and nourished. No pallor, no icterus, no cyanosis, no clubbing, no generalized lymphadenopathy, no pedal edema. Breast, areola and nipple normal. Thyroid clinically normal, no enlargement. Spine and gait normal, good oral hygiene. Perabdomen, inspection, uterus is longitudinally enlarged, umbilicus in midline everted, linea nigrans stria gravidarum present, hernial orifice are free, no dilated veins, sinuses and scars. Palpation, fundal height 32 weeks plus flanks full, symphysial fundal height is 31 centimeters, abdominal girth is 33.15 inches, estimated fetal weight is 2.9 kg by Johnson's formula. Fundal grip, smooth, hard, globular, not easily ballotable, head is palpable in fundal. Umbilical grip, spine is felt in the right side and limb is felt in the left side. First pelvic grip, soft, broad, irregular, non-ballotable, podalic pole is felt and is unengaged. Second pelvic grip, confirmation of first pelvic grip. Clinically, Liker is adequate. Uterus is not acting, not tense, not tender. Auscultation, fetal heart sound is heard above the level of umbilicus near the midline, 146 per minute, and it is regular. Perspiculum examination, cervix in mid position, no abnormal discharge or leaking per vaginum. Pervaginal examination, cervix in mid position, firm, length 4 cm, arse closed, soft, irregular podalic pole palpated through fornices and is at the brim. Pelvis is adequate, no show or leaking per vaginum. Bishop score is 1. Summary, 28 years, Mrs. X, primi gravida, married for 1.5 years, who is booked and immunized with the LMP 10/4/20 and EDD 17/1/21, sure of her date, gestation is 39 weeks 1 day, is admitted with singleton term live gestation, probably extended breech presentation with adequate liquor, not in labor with the Bishop score 1.
Madam, unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'll unmute. Yeah, somebody has written that people are not visible, so I was just checking. Okay, so now you have made a diagnosis of breech clinically. That is good. At least you know you're sure of your diagnosis, and you're supported by ultrasound. Now, do you think at this stage you have any alternatives for management? What is your management now? And what are the significant factors in history that you have noted? Is there any other risk apart from breach, or you feel this is an uncomplicated breach? What is your summary? Because your summary does not reflect all that. Your summary is just telling us, you know, that here is a primey with sure dates, with good ultrasound features, and who is having the only abnormality is breach with an unripe cervix. That's what is your summary telling us. But can you tell us whether it is also you know, with a complicated, or what else do you want to tell us?
It is uncomplicated breach, ma'am.
Okay. What do you mean?
No other fetal complications present, such as hypertension or diabetes, ma'am. And
Uh-huh.
in the
So those
dating
are
scan,
maternal factors, right? Not fetal.
yes, ma'am.
You said
And
fetal.
anomalies can taken, no anomalies were detected.
Hmm. That
And
makes it
also
a
in the
complicated breach.
no,
Yeah, yeah.
ma'am.
Be very clear in your answer. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
And also in dating scan, no uterine anomalies were detected, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Good. What else? Anybody else can answer? One more person can answer if you are not getting.
Niranjani?
Yeah, Sanju, Niranjani, Devi.
In this case,
So
there
she
is
had an ultrasound at 36 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It was diagnosed breech at 36 weeks. What other parameters will look into that?
In the ultrasound at 36
Placental.
first we'll see the presentation, ma'am. So we have told it's a breech presentation. We should see the estimated fetal weight, ma'am. We should see the amniotic fluid level. The
central position, ma'am. Any other
placental position,
associated anomalies?
any uterine
That includes fetal head, ma'am. Is it either
Yes.
hyperextended or extended?
Okay. Okay.
Placental position also, ma'am.
Okay. So those are the ultrasound features which you would like to see. What else? Since we are on ultrasound, we should complete this. Normally, we would come to this a little bit later. Doesn't matter. You said the fetal weight. You said the type of breech. You said placentation. You said LICA. You said anomalies. Right? Anything else you need to see?
Tumors of the uterus,
Pardon?
madam. Any tumors
Okay.
of the uterus, madam.
That is what I meant by complicated breech. You should have mentioned other factors which are associated. Huh? Okay, so no fibroids is what you wanted to say, right? In the lower or no ovarian tumor occupying the pelvis. Fine. Anything else? What else do you see in ultrasound?
Type of breach also we can see, ma'am.
Yeah, that we mentioned just now. Anything else? One more factor. Do you see the attitude of the head?
Attitude of the hyperextended.
Correct. So you have to rule that out, right? You have to rule that out. Now we'll go back a little bit. And I would like to ask you whether she is a booked case or she's an unbooked case. Go
She's
back
a
to
booked
the
case,
history.
ma'am.
Let us quickly go through the history because we should not miss anything vital in the history. Booked or unbooked case?
It's a booked case, ma'am.
It's a booked case. So is there any history in your in your obstetric narration of her antenatal course? Is there any mention that when exactly was she picked up as a case of breech? Because now you are saying that she is booked, but she has come at 39 weeks with no plan for delivery. Is there a plan of delivery in place along with the patient?
Ma'am. Actually, she had her early visits at PHC, ma'am.
Okay.
When she was diagnosed as breech, she was referred to us, ma'am.
All right.
Our
Does that
hospital.
come in your history? Is that reflecting in your history?
No, ma'am.
Then she becomes
No.
an unbooked with us.
Actually,
Yes, exactly. Shamla is right. Why does that matter to you? Tell us now. Now you give us the answer. Now we have got some point which you have not brought it up. Now you tell us why we are keen to know that.
Ma'am, primi gravida, if it's a patient with an uncomplicated breech, ma'am, we can try, we can offer her various modes of delivery, ma'am, once diagnosed earlier. So at 36,
Various modes of delivery.
no, ma'am, we can, at 36 weeks, we can offer her external
Correct.
catheterization.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
also all the risk involved. And also we should also educate her that she might also end up in a cesarean section.
Very good. Anything else? Anybody else wants to add? Devi, you want to add anything? Earlier, suppose she's 26, 28, 29, 30 weeks like that. That time you pick up it is a breach. Huh? Then what you must do?
We can
Rule out
reassure
fe-
the chance of breach after 36 weeks is only 3 to 4%, ma'am. So we can wait and further proceed
Be
with the
little
growth.
loud, huh, Sanju?
We can do a growth scan at 36 weeks and then check for a presentation, ma'am.
So you need to confirm the presentation later in gestation is what you are trying to tell. You are also saying that if it is picked up at 26 weeks or 28 weeks or 30 weeks, then you should not label it as a case of breach presentation.
we should not label it, ma'am.
Yeah. Does it have
Before
any
28, between 28 to 32 weeks, breech presentation is almost 14%, ma'am. Incidence is
maybe even more,
14%.
maybe even more. But should you not document? You must document, right? Then you must, and what else you must do? We are going back a little, we are talking about cases in general whom you have taken as breach, because if we don't cover now, we won't cover later in the case.
So third trimester, how frequently you call them for follow?
Correct.
They are seen breach at 28 weeks. Then when do you call her back?
We'll repeat the scan at 32, ma'am.
32 weeks.
I'm not asking
We
about
understood that you want to confirm it with another ultrasound later. Then only you want to raise the alarm to the patient and family. This is not normal. We understood your point. We are only wanting to know what is the alert that you will develop, because still majority of women will have vertex at 28 weeks. So if they are having breach, do you look for anything else very carefully?
Placenta, we should see if there is any other placental previa or any other uterine fibroid obstructing lower cavity.
Okay.
Or any other associated uterine anomalies, or if any fetal anomaly is associated with, ma'am. And liker volume, ma'am, if it is associated with poly or oligohydramnios.
All right. So you get alerted to the fact that there can be anything else. What is it which is difficult to pick up? All these cases, things which you told us kind of, easier to pick up. But if you get a normal report, only breech presentation, then what is it that you are unable to pick up at 28, 30 weeks? Which I think Meenakshi brought it out in a point.
CNS abnormalities, ma'am.
What abnormalities?
Any CNS abnormalities in the baby?
Anomalies of the fetus. Okay, I was coming to anomalies of the fetus next. What is difficult to diagnose at 30 weeks is uterine anomalies, isn't it? Is it easy? So, especially in a case like this, uterine anomalies. So be very careful when you have a breach and with no previous proper ultrasound and no knowledge about her past. You must keep in mind that there could be a uterine anomaly which will be diagnosed only at birth. Isn't so many times you do surgery for breech and you find it's a bicornuate uterus for the first time? You never know, right? And you are all trained to look for uterine anomalies when you do a cesarean section for breech, not in vaginal, but definitely in cesarean. So now we wanted you to come out with that answer that you will become alerted, and especially if it remains a persistent breach, then you will start counseling them that there is a higher risk for operative delivery. Need not be cesarean section, but higher risk for operative delivery. Yeah. So that was important point to tell. So now she is at 39 weeks and there is no plan of birth. You have to make the plan of birth now. Otherwise, what you would have done? You are saying at 37 weeks, 36 weeks, you will offer external
cephalic version.
So before doing that, Shyamla, you want to ask them about version, how will they select the case? And
yeah. When do you select a patient for ECV? If
Yes,
she comes to 36 weeks, she has come to you at 36 weeks, you diagnosed a breach. She's a primary 36 weeks and uncomplicated breach. How do you plan?
Yes, ma'am. Apart from that, have an average size baby, ma'am. Estimated fetal weight should be between 2.5 to less than 3.5 kg. Adequate liquor should be present. Placenta should be preferably posterior. The fetal back should be preferably anterior or lateral. And there should be no associated anomalies, uterine anomalies.
Fetal and uterine anomalies. Okay.
And why do you choose?
And also, yes.
Type of breach is important. Extension of head is important, right? There should not be extended head. Why do you wait for 36 weeks? It is much easier earlier, isn't it? Why do you wait for 36 to 37 weeks?
Because chance of reversion is high, ma'am. And also, in case if patient requires imminent delivery, there is iatrogenic prematurity, ma'am. So we generally prefer
the correct answer, that you must wait till the baby is reasonably mature, because you may require to. What are the reasons for which the woman may require an immediate delivery during version? I think the
Fetal
The
We go
Abruption.
for
version
abruption,
will
cord
discuss.
prolapse.
We discuss just the complications. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Abruption, ma'am.
abruption.
Fetal distress.
Cord prolapse.
Cord prolapse. And can there be a complication less
Rare
dangerous
complication.
than this? Yeah.
Rare
You said
complication.
abruption, you said cord prolapse, then fetal distress.
Fetal distress due to cord
One
injury.
complication more dangerous than 3 and one complication less dangerous than these 3.
Uterine rupture.
Rupture, the
Rupture.
ultimate disaster. Yeah. And what is less than all these, but which will also prompt a delivery?
PRO. She can
Yeah,
have
she might just rupture of her membranes. And if it is a failed case with ruptured membranes, you may not want to wait in that case, right? Because you don't know how it will go. So you may want to deliver her. So all those reasons with proper consent. Now you must explain how you will perform version. If she had come at 36 weeks, you have chosen the case and the procedure, and Dr. Shyamla will conduct that discussion. Yes. One person should answer.
Yes, ma'am. The patient should have avoided. We should make her lie down in the supine position. And, fetal heart should be checked pre-procedure. Some textbooks say we can give tocolytics like terbutaline before 30 minutes before the procedure, ma'am. 0.25 milligrams can be given. And then the operator and an assistant is there, ma'am. And then what we do is we should one hand over the breech and the other hand will grab the fetal head, ma'am. So first we will try the forward roll, ma'am. Gently we will try to move the.
Okay, just one small piece of advice to all postgraduates. Everybody who is listening in, when you are answering, she is answering very beautifully. Niranjani, you are doing very well, and unmute yourself. No need to mute when I am talking. So, Niranjani, you are doing extremely well. Two things is, one is, please do not say ma'am, ma'am, ma'am in between. Sir, 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 no. No, speak like you are a consultant treating the patient. Okay, because in the exam, the examiner is trying to assess that only. They are not trying to assess actually whether you know molecular biology or you know DNA sequencing or you know the surgery for some congenital anomaly. They're not wanting to assess your fine skills. They want to know whether you're aware of basic fundamental issues, because that is what saves women's lives and babies' lives. So answer as if you are already a qualified consultant, but not in an arrogant way, in a confident and calm way, and that of course removes that necessity of saying ma'am, ma'am, not needed, or sir, sir, no. Don't think they will be offended if you don't. Just begin with that, and then please don't in between say. The second thing is avoid talking in first and second person. Always talk in third person. So refer to the patient and say, and when you are saying about management, of course you say that I want to do this, but then don't lapse into saying that you will have to do this if this is like this. You say this is what has to be done. So often that mistake is made, that you lapse into second person and it becomes as if the examiner has to follow what you are saying. So please take note of this. You're answering very well. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
So as I was saying, we will one hand will stabilize the breech, and the other hand we will stabilize the fetal head, ma'am. Step by step, slowly. We first it's a forward roll. We gently we try to manipulate the fetal position. In case we are not able to move the fetus with this, it is unsuccessful. We can also go by the backward roll, ma'am. The opposite direction, we will try to move the fetus, ma'am. Once the procedure is over, we should again monitor the fetal heart rate with the CTG for at least a minimum of 15 to 20 minutes.
Ma'am, preferably Trendelenburg position is patient is put in Trendelenburg position, ma'am. And if the patient is RH negative, anti-D should be given, ma'am. There will be 5% chance of fetal maternal hemorrhage, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
I think Sanju, you want to add?
Yeah.
Ma'am, preferably procedure should be done in a place where immediate cesarean section is possible, and should alert the anesthetist and neonatologist.
Yeah, one more thing. Sometimes the breech will be engaged, will be into the pelvis. You have to disengage the breech. And then one of the method you can mostly we follow the forward roll. And then halfway between the procedure, you have to check the fetal heart. And then continue the procedure.
Yes.
And one more thing is sometimes we may not get the terbutaline. We can use, let's say, nifedipine or the salbutamol also we can use it.
Suppose she is very tense, she requests for anesthesia, analgesia, what will you do? Answer please.
Anesthesia is not required.
Should not, is not recommended, is not recommended. Should never anesthetize a patient or sedate a patient by doing the version. You must reassure her, but not sedate her. Why? Because you may use more force, because her natural reflexes are not there. She has no guard in place, so you may end up in using more force, and that will be harmful. There are 2 points in preparation of the woman which you have left. One is counseling and consent, which you should. Yeah.
Patient should be kept in milk or oral for at least 6 hours.
That is the second point. At least she should have a only liquid diet, or she should come NPO. That means she should be in readiness for a anesthesia and delivery if required. And it should be scheduled when? When should it be scheduled? A version. Can you do it any time of the day? Is it okay to do in the middle of a busy OPD at the end of the day? No, this is a procedure which
in the morning.
Yeah, better to do in the morning. What is the reason for that? Better. I'm just saying
all
better.
senior consultants and anesthetists, neonatologists, all facilities.
So easy availability, as you said, of all personnel. That is one. Secondly, the woman doesn't have to wait, for till afternoon with NPO or only on liquids. She is a full-term pregnancy, right? Right. And there is a third reason also, that once you perform the version, you keep her under observation for a few hours. You need not admit her, but you can keep her in a daycare setting where you can see her after 3-4 hours, in the labor room annex. You can keep her, do a CTG after a few hours and see. So you get the whole day for observation, because it's not necessary that she will develop the complication or the complication will be seen immediately. It can be seen after half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours also. She may suddenly start leaking, or she may have bleeding, or it may revert also sometimes. Okay, so suppose it reverts. What is the role of redoing the version?
After 1 week, ma'am.
Achha, so
the patient is asked to come after 1 week.
After 1 week. So there is no role for immediate reversion. No, that's what you're trying to say. Okay. Anything else?
How many attempts are there? Any attempts? How many attempts? Number
3
of
attempts can be done weekly.
How many?
3 attempts.
3 attempts you want to do. Okay. Will they agree? I'm wondering with her, because after one only, so for every time you have to take the patients and the family's wish about the birthing process. Every time you have to go through that, and only if they agree, then you have to. What other are the finer points in counseling when you are dealing with a breech presentation? Is it only the plan of birth, or anything else also you wish to add? Persistently, if it is breech.
Perinatal mortality.
Yeah.
About morbidity, madam. Perinatal.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that, saying only that is not enough? Because it's very alarming for the family if you say, because it is breech, no, baby is not normal. What are you going to say? Or at least think in your mind. Suppose I will give you 2 instances. There are 2 patients in your labor room. One is a 30-weeker breech and another one is a 30-weeker vertex, and both are having delivery on that day. Which baby will do better?
The vertex presentation.
So in general, perinatal outcome for breech babies has been found to be slightly worse than vertex presentation for but sometimes known reasons, sometimes unknown reasons. So when you are gestational age wise, when you are counseling, for example, an NICU counseling for prematurity, please remember that you have to keep in mind that it is a breech presentation and counseling should be done accordingly. So counseling for NICU in a breech presentation, keep in mind that you were only mentioning, no, Meenakshi, who was mentioning that congenital anomalies are more common, neuromuscular problems are common. So one of you said that, sometimes aneuploidies are common because they're not picked up in the first trimester always, right? So many of us, so you must keep all that in mind. Now you go ahead with your plan of birth at 39 weeks in this case, because I think we did cover the version part. Yeah.
Ma'am,
Meenakshi, you presented, so you tell us now, what are you going to do in this present case?
there is a scoring system to know successful vaginal deliveries, ma'am. Satyajini Andrew scoring. For this patient,
So I am the patient. I have come 39 weeks. You are going to tell me is Atushni Andros scoring? We'll come to the discussion. First, you give us the clinical plan of management. Put back your summary slide. Yeah, now you tell what are you going to tell the patient.
I will admit her, ma'am.
Okay.
And then I will do all the clinical evaluation and USG findings, ma'am. And if all the things are favorable, like pelvis is adequate and liker is adequate, and if she is in labor, I can explain her about the risks in a normal vaginal delivery. And based on her preference also, we can take up for LSCS also, ma'am.
So you want the patient to decide whether she wants normal or delivery or cesarean section, vaginal delivery or cesarean section?
It is based on operator's experience also, ma'am, and patient preference,
and
all other factors, such as some contraindications are there for vaginal delivery, ma'am.
Okay.
Such as uterine anomalies, placenta previa, and congenital anomalies.
Okay.
So, for that case, we can avoid.
Okay. So, in your opinion, how different is this birthing going to be as compared to a vertex delivery? How is this going to be different? Why is it considered as an abnormal presentation? Very basic question. What we teach undergraduates.
Here, the breech enters the pelvis first, ma'am. It is soft and compressible, so it will come out easily, and there is less time for head to move, ma'am. So after coming delivery, head of the after coming, delivery of that after coming head may be difficult, ma'am.
Correct.
And also birth injuries.
Vertex, the hardest and the most difficult part delivers first, right? The vertex and the shoulders, they deliver off, and remaining baby birth is okay. But in breech, successively more difficult parts are going to deliver. So that is the reason it becomes very complex. Okay, so what are the complications of vaginal birth in breech delivery?
Vaginal laceration will be more, ma'am.
Because you are going to inform them, no, in counseling. So what are the complications you tell them?
Ma'am, when we give vaginal delivery,
one at a time. Niranjani, you want to answer this?
Yes, ma'am. When we give vaginal delivery, we should inform them that there are increased risk of instrumental delivery. So there is also chances of cervical vaginal lacerations. It might have postpartum increased risk.
Are you going to tell about maternal injuries first, when fetal is so grave, when the fetal problems are so much more serious?
Okay.
In breech presentation, with problems with the baby or the mother?
With the baby first.
Then tell.
Perinatal morbidity and the mortality is more compared to the maternal morbidity.
Then what are the problems with the baby? Yeah, somebody said.
Difficulty in after coming of head, ma'am.
Okay.
Apart from the breech.
So, fractures of the humerus femur.
Okay.
There's an increased chance of.
So birth trauma is more common, is what you are trying to say. If I were you, I would begin with birth asphyxia.
Asphyxia.
First begin with, because that is the most dangerous and the commonest one. So begin with birth asphyxia. That is first. Second,
Prematurity.
huh? Prematurity.
Prematurity.
Correct. Very good. Very good. That's a good order. Third, because you can't no longer answer like an undergraduate, whatever comes into your head. You should tell what is most significant, most dangerous, what you are aware of, and you might be sued for all these things. Okay, so one is birth asphyxia, second is
Prematurity.
prematurity, third is prematurity, about which we are less responsible, but nevertheless that compounds the situation. Third is birth trauma. In birth trauma, you mentioned that there is fracture of the long bones. There is also separation of epiphysis because of traction. Sometimes there can also be laceration
Intracranial
of abdominal
hemorrhages.
organs. Go from below. Shyamala already told you. Go from below upwards, because that is how it can happen, right? Yeah. So spine also. There can be sometimes injury to the spine. There can be abdominal wall and viscera injury, and then there can be intracranial. So tell us the specific injuries of intracranial.
If it is a male fetus, genital damage also can occur, ma'am.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Yes, yes. Intracranial, you have to tell us. No?
There is sudden compression and decompression of it during delivery. So there is tearing of tentorium cerebelli.
Correct. And the second common is intracranial
hemorrhage.
Hemorrhage, correct. So both are very dangerous complications. So these are the problems which happen and we have also seen cervical neck dislocation, cervical vertebrae dislocation and fractures. So that also can happen. So these are the injuries which need to be informed to them, that sometimes, rarely, such complications can happen. They have to know. What else? What else will you tell them when they are opting for vaginal birthing? Yeah, where is Meenakshi? Meenakshi. Yeah. So
And ICU admission.
Yes, yes, correct. Yeah. The cost, the affordability has to be checked. What else? Yeah, the chances of intrapartum cesarean section, right? Intrapartum cesarean section. So next, I think you are going to offer this woman. What do you think? What are you going to offer this woman? Are you going to offer this woman vaginal breech delivery? And you said that no, Meenakshi, that is what you said.
Ma'am, I'll offer her elective cesarean section. Ma'am.
Okay, what are the reasons for that? Yeah, justify your answer. Why you want to perform a cesarean on a primi gravida when all the time we are shouting about reducing section in primies? Please justify, Meenakshi.
Ma'am, her patient is not in labor, ma'am.
Okay.
Her Bishop score is not favoring her, ma'am.
Okay.
And also, her.
But is it necessary that she should deliver now only at admission?
Can we wait or?
It should not become as a post-dated pregnancy, ma'am.
It is only 39 weeks, man. Till when is term?
17 is a ready.
Yes, ma'am.
So can we wait or not?
1 week we can wait for 1 week, ma'am.
What you will do in that 1 week? After 1 week, what we will do? Again do cesarean. That's why you are saying you will do it off now. Why wait? She'll come in labor and then there is more problem. That's what Meenakshi is trying to say. We are asking you to justify why can we not offer her a vaginal birth? Because I believe you have been taught about, we were told by Dr. Palini, please don't do the maneuvers
vaginal
and all. Everything is done. So everything has been taught to you. Why don't you want to deliver her vaginally? Please come out so that you
become primi gravida, ma'am.
Primi. Okay.
Is a primi gravida. We are not sure of the assessment of pelvis, ma'am.
But your assessment
since that she is 39 weeks plus 1 day, and she's having extended breech, ma'am.
She's extended breech, okay.
Extended breech. So it may not have favorable outcome in normal delivery, and also with poor Bishop score.
Oh, so I didn't know that extended breech has got a difficulty for normal delivery, or is
No,
it
ma'am.
No, ma'am, it is favorable.
No, ma'am. It is favorable
For
for
what
engagement.
reasons is it favorable? Now answer that question. Why is it favorable?
Effective cervical dilator, ma'am.
Okay,
Because
good.
it
Anything else?
engages into pelvis and
Yeah. Anything else?
And risk of cord prolapse will be
Yes,
less.
isn't it? So risk of both PRO and cord prolapse is less. So here it is more useful. Why is it not very kind of what are the disadvantages of having an extended breech? Is there any disadvantage for vaginal
it's
birth?
difficult.
If it is a fetal-pelvic disproportion, it may go for impacted breech.
Impacted. That can happen to any breech, no? And any gravida, no? About extended breech, I'm asking.
Difficult to perform cephalic version, ma'am. External cephalic.
Version, we are past version, no? We are at birth now. I'm asking about birthing. That you are correct. It poses some difficulty in version, extended breech, because the head is not freely ballotable. So it can't be moved as easily as a complete breech. That's why we say version is better in a complete breech and in multis. Whereas in primies and extended, it is little more difficult. That we already told you. Now you must tell us why else it is difficult, because sometimes the lower limbs and the head will form a wedge, and that is what is known as impaction. This wedge of head with the lower limbs on each side can get stuck at the pelvis, and the breech will be on the perineum. So that is possible, and that is the condition of extended legs, and you will have to release them, right, by Pinard's maneuver, etc. That's what you have been taught, how to disimpact the impacted breech in extended breech. So that is the disadvantage of having a extended breech for vaginal birth, but otherwise it is more favorable than other types of breech. You agree with that? You agree with that? Okay. So then now you tell us why, justify your reasons for doing a cesarean for this case very quickly. I think
It is more favorable in multiparous, ma'am.
Vaginal birth. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
She's primary gravida, ma'am. And she is near term, that is more than 39-week gestation age, ma'am. And she's not in labor at present, ma'am.
Okay. You all this said already.
We have to induce.
Is there
to deliver her, we have to induce her now, ma'am.
That's what we are trying to ask you. What is the hurry? Why not wait for a few days for onset of labor and then take a call? Is it not possible to wait? So it is possible to wait, because there is no directive which says that primary with breech, a term must deliver at 39 weeks, right? That is not there anywhere, right? We can wait at least till 40 weeks for onset of labor and then take a call. Any other reason that you want to do a cesarean? Anybody else, Devi or Sanju or anybody else wants to say? Okay, now
morbidity and mortality.
That is inherent to breech, or is it inherent to you conducting the breech? That is the next point. So if it is also dependent on the provider's capability. It is also dependent on the institutional protocol, because what does ACOG says in response to the huge furor which happened after Henna's breech trial? They have said that term breech singleton can be offered vaginal delivery safely depending on institution protocols. So the protocols demand that the labor room should be alerted and should be ready to handle such a case, and the obstetrician should be well versed and experienced with breech delivery. So I am asking you, is it because you feel that you need more experience in delivering the breech? That's what I am asking you. Meenakshi.
Yes, ma'am.
So that is what one must admit to oneself, because it's very natural. The number of breech we have delivered, you people have not delivered, right? So that is an important factor, and that has to be factorized into your decision. That is very true. Or the alternative is that you must have another help who is well versed with breech delivery, and in an institution that is possible, isn't it? right? It's a possible because you will be having your seniors. So please take a decision which is good for the woman. So good, what are the factors favorable for a vaginal birth of a breech delivery? You are in the labor room and you get the same woman comes in active labor and fully dilated, and the breech is there in the mid pelvis at around the, it is at -1 station. What are you going to do? What will you do at this point of time? She is majorly dilated, 5 centimeter plus 6, 7 centimeter, like that.
We can allow her for
Ask for help, ma'am.
One person answer, please. Quickly.
No touch technique up to the umbilicus, madam.
Say no touch technique because you are going to touch her and see her. Say no intervention.
No intervention.
No major.
Classes at pelvis, ma'am, and if pelvis is adequate and if she is progressing, we should monitor the progress of labor, ma'am.
Yeah.
She is progressing adequately with good uterine contractions. We can wait for spontaneous delivery, ma'am. And in case if she is not having adequate progress, like if she is not dilating or if she has inadequate contractions, then he'll have to decide her for emergency cesarean section.
Okay, if she has inadequate contractions, Sanju, will you not augment her with oxytocin? What is your view about augmentation of labor in a case of breech delivery? Niranjini, Meenakshi, Sanju, augmentation of labor in breech.
It's controversial, ma'am.
Answer this only will go to induction, otherwise will not go. No, then let there be controversy. What are you going to do? I want to know, what are you going to do? Are you going to augment or you're not going to augment?
But if she's not getting enough contraction, we can augment.
Okay, what have you read about this? That's the next thing. Yeah.
augmentation is not routine.
Trial.
Okay, controversy means for one and against one point at least you give. Yeah.
Ma'am, for this patient, say she's progressed so far by herself, spontaneously. Can give a trial with we can augment the labor and see, ma'am. We can give her a trial. But one other argument is that if she's not progressing beyond this point, means there's some amount of disproportion.
Pelvic disproportion may be there.
So we should decide for cesarean at this point.
And natural labor which happens at its own pace is more conducive for the soft tissue give way of the pelvis, which is very essential for a normal vaginal birth of a breech. So soft tissue give way of the pelvis will not happen if you push too much from above, if there is too strong a contraction from above, and that is the feeling against augmentation, that there should not be unnatural forces in labor. Only natural forces should be there. Augmented labor can give rise to very strong uterine contractions, and very hasty descent of the breech may result in problems of arrest. And that is the problem. In vertex, there will be a molded head. Here, breech cannot be molded. So that is the reason nature has a greater part to play here. So it's important to have more patience for breech. So you began the answer rightly by saying that you will wait till the breech comes to the perineum. After that, you will do the assisted breech as you have been taught. I was interested in knowing what are the other factors which you will consider before allowing the woman to go for breech, because I said -1 station means the breech is quite high still. -1 in breech is quite high. It's not like vertex. So any other factors, not only this case, but in general, what are the factors favorable for breech delivery?
Average size of baby, ma'am.
Good.
Between 2.5 to 3.5 kg.
Good. Multiparous
adequate pelvis.
Multiparous
women. Like her volume, ma'am, with adequate labor.
Yeah.
Comes in active labor, more than 5 centimeter.
Spontaneous active labor. What else? Previous breech delivery. Right? Okay. Okay. So now you feel that if she comes in labor, you will take a decision based on all this. Now you are saying that you will do a cesarean delivery for her. So is it kind of also without any risk, cesarean delivery?
Cesarean delivery has more.
Has,
We should explain to them it has more short-term morbidity for the mother, mom. But the neonatal outcome is better. Perinatal outcome.
Compared to vaginal birth, it is better. But in general,
Last
breech
5 minutes.
birth by cesarean. Breech birth
no,
by
ma'am, because the
have
way
any
we deliver the maneuver is similar to that of the vaginal delivery, ma'am.
so any complications can happen.
Extension of the angle or lower uterine segment, it may be thinned out.
Thinned out, why? In this case,
It's not in labor.
planned cesarean. It's the reverse. You may find an unformed lower segment. You may find a thick lower segment. That may be difficult.
Head entrapment might be there. So we should give a liberal uterine incision.
Excellent. That's the first thing that you must say, that you will give a liberal, both abdominal incision and a liberal uterine incision. That is very important in breech delivery, because all the complications which we enlisted in the beginning of our discussion can happen with the cesarean birth also. Please remember that. Okay, can happen with the cesarean birth also. Okay. Anything else, Dr. Shyamla, your inputs, please?
Ma'am, we have last 5 minutes for discussion.
Yeah.
I heard you.
If she is a 32-weeker and she has come with labor pains and active labor, how do you manage?
Primigravida or multigravida, ma'am?
Raimi?
No, anything. Preterm breech, how do you manage?
Preterm breech, it's a 32-weeker.
And we have to see whether the cervix is fully dilated or not.
Because there is
Because
there
chance
is
of
difficulty in
entrapment is more
delivering of
common
after coming.
preterm.
Will the birth weight matter?
Estimate fetal weight more than 1.5
Yes.
kilogram at least.
Yeah, is better for vaginal birth. Less than 1.5, injuries are reported to be higher, right? So less than 30 weeks and less than 1.5 kgs, cesarean outcome is that what it is, Dr. Shyamla?
Yeah.
You wanted to say that? Yeah.
More than 32 weeks, more than 1.5 kilos, we can allow them for factors. It's a frank breech or a complete breech. If it's a footling and 32-weeker,
Cesarean section, ma'am.
other than complete breech or the frank breech, any breech presentation in labor, even the factors are prescribing it is a footling or a knee presentation, we go for a C-section. So what are the, if you are allowing them for a vaginal delivery, what are the factors? Even you are hoping for a normal delivery, but some of the factors in the labor, in the first stage or a second stage. In second stage also, sometimes we may go for a C-section. So what are the factors? We have to take them for a C-section.
Anytime there's fetal distress, we'll have to take care of cesarean section, ma'am.
Okay.
Or prolapse or non-progression, ma'am.
Yeah.
Prolong
labor.
So partogram is important, even in
very important. Yeah.
Partogram is important. You have to keep a partogram, and we see the partogram how it is a prolonged arrest of dilatation or arrest of descent. Anytime you have to take up a C-section. So
your threshold for emergency cesarean has to be lower in case of a malpresentation, especially breech, right? Right. The threshold should be lower.
And a card prolapse, definitely we go for C-section.
Definitely it is to be done. Definitely that is.
So, and one more thing, whenever you plan for a C-section, elective C-section, once again you confirm the presentation. We'll have a surprise when you're doing a C-section. It will be a cephalic also.
Sometimes it happens, yes.
Sometimes it happens.
Yeah, spontaneous version would have happened.
Spontaneous version will happen. So whenever it is a 36 weeks and you have did a EC.
Ma'am, your mic is muted, ma'am.
Yeah. What is the percentage they can go for a spontaneous version?
5% chances.
More than 25% they go for a spontaneous version.
Yeah. So
yeah. They'll be asking, if the minute we say it is a breech presentation from the 32 weeks, they'll be asking what position I'll sit or what position I'll stand, I'll sleep. Is there a role of postural changes? Is there an evidence-based studies?
Is
Elkin's
Elkin's maneuver, ma'am, in which knee chest position is
You can tell. Yeah.
allowed for 15 minutes per
So
day
there's
after
no
week.
evidence base, but these are the postural changes they'll be asked.
It has helped women, and there is a lot of emphasis on all this, exercise in pregnancy, more mobility in pregnancy, especially in the developed countries, and they do follow, and some reversal is possible. Yes, I think it is worthwhile exploring all that. If the woman is ambulant and nice and fit and ready for all this, it's worthwhile following it. I just want to know if any of you have come across a preterm breech which has delivered and then head entrapment is there. Have you been able to deliver such a case?
So what is the role of?
Yeah, how to deliver this case?
Ma'am, we can give a reference incision, ma'am. We can.
What incision?
Cervical incision.
Yeah, what is it?
2 o'clock and 10 o'clock.
Rehearsal incisions. Yes, rehearsal incisions. How are they given? Where are they given? What is
At
it?
2 o'clock and 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Yeah, and yeah, it's an emergency, right? It's an emergency because head entrapment is there. So you don't get much time. You do call the senior, but you may have to proceed. So you know that, directly laterally, if you go, then you will encounter the vessels. If you go anteriorly, you may encounter the bladder. So posteriorly, you can't see. The baby's face may be there. You can't see. So the best place is either 5, 7 or up to the 11 and 4 o'clock, right? 2 and 10 o'clock. So you have to give local infiltration. You have to use sponge holding forceps, 2 on each side, and local infiltration. Tell the woman what you are doing. Please send one assistant outside to take consent from the family that you are going to perform this, because otherwise, the baby will get asphyxiated, and then quickly cut in between 2 sponge holding forceps on both. Protecting the cervix is very important because major vessels will be there, and then you can deliver the baby as so if it is 5 centimeters and less, I think it won't work, but if it is more, I think it works very well, and then you are able to deliver. Okay, so any other doubts that you have?
You are not well versed. Maybe you can go for a section. You're not very confident in giving the incision. You don't have an head. It's very difficult, but what you can go for is one thing is.
This is after coming here, Shyamla.
That's what, madam. After coming, very rarely. We had one experience. Very rarely.
Okay.
They couldn't give the incisions.
That is possible. If maternal injury is likely, then it is better for abdominal delivery.
Abdominal delivery.
For maternal benefit, because the baby would not be saved by, I think, by then it may not be, So that is also one way of tackling the situation. Something else I needed to tell them before that. Yeah, the Hannah's breech trial, if each one of you can tell what you have learned from it, I'll be very happy. Devi, you must have read that. Can you please tell what you have read, what you understood, and what you have learned from it?
Term breech trials.
And in Hannah trial, in planned vaginal deliveries, there will be serious neonatal morbidity compared to planned elective cesarean section.
So that's what you have understood.
Complication is
term breech. Term breech. Yeah, Meena.
Term breech.
What have you understood from Hannah's breech trial? Yeah.
Neonatal complication is around 3 per 1,000 birth in a planned cesarean, ma'am, and it's 13 per 1,000 in a planned vaginal delivery.
But it's still very low, isn't it? Still very low. 13 per 1,000 is still very low. But that is one of the reasons why you opted to do a cesarean for this case, is what I'm thinking. Sanju, what do you say? What did you understand from Hannah's breech trial?
There are certain drawbacks associated in the trial, ma'am. They did not fulfill the inclusion criteria properly, and they have included certain.
Yeah.
It was term singleton breech, ma'am, but there were multiple pregnancies, certain multiple pregnancies, and it did not mention about the expertise of the delivery person.
Also, for not all patients, they estimated the fetal weight by ultrasound, ma'am, pre-trial. Weight and even the head
It was only
extension.
It was only later that all these loopholes were found, and it was felt that it could be a oversimplification of a delivery method for term breech if you say that cesarean is better, because it did lead to a overwhelmingly high cesarean section rate for breech, and it kind of got a very commercial angle and people were very angry about it, and that is how more analysis was done, and ACOG came up with the guideline that in a trained personnel situation, and where the institution is also well versed with the protocol of breech delivery, this can be managed, term breech can be managed in well selected patients, right? So I hope that we have discussed today how you would select a case for breech delivery. Of course, in a primigravida, you will all hesitate, but then some women who are primary also can have successful breech delivery, provided the criteria are well met. Don't you agree with me? I think, Shamla, you have anything else to say?
Yeah, madam. Yeah, even you're alone also, you have to be trained in a ECV, you have to be trained for a vaginal breech delivery, and you have to be trained for a C-section. It's not that sometimes you plan for a C-section, sometimes they may come in an active labor or a full dilatation. You should be well versed with the techniques and maneuvers how to deliver a vaginal breech delivery. In a case of emergency, even there is no backup and help for you. So before the anesthetist comes or the help comes for you, you should be trained. Even though you plan for a emergency or elective section, or there's no time to do a C-section, emergency section, you should be trained. All of you, all the postgraduate should be trained for an ACV and a vaginal breech delivery with the simulators, or whenever you're delivering a breech in a C-section, you should see the steps, how they're delivering the lower limbs, how they're delivering the rotating the back upwards, and how they're rotating the upper limbs anteriorly and then posteriorly, how they're delivering the shoulders, and followed by the head delivery after coming head.
That's a great message, Kamla. That is what you have to kind of see, that you get adequate clinical exposure in delivery of breech presentations, in the clinical assessment of these women,
Selection of the patients, madam.
Selection of patients, and see that you become obstetricians, not surgeons who perform only cesarean. Become obstetricians, because surgeons can do cesarean, right? And midwives can do normal deliveries, but obstetricians should tackle all these challenges, right? So try to hone your skills as an obstetrician. God bless all of you. You all did very well, and I wanted you to talk more, and I think we did succeed in that. And thank you, organizers, for the time given to us. Thank you, Shamla. You were a wonderful co-teacher today.
Yeah, thank you, madam.
Yeah. And Palani, a fantastic program to you and your team.
Thank
Wonderful.
you, Dr. Shobha. It was a pleasure having you with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. We have, thank you, Dr. Shobha, ma'am. Thank you, Shamla, ma'am. We have come to the end of our case discussions of OG Quest 2021. And we are privileged to have such eminent professors who try to instill all the points in 1 hour of their time given. Thank you very much for your valuable time and your presence, ma'am. Now we move on to the next event. Before that, I would like to announce the best participant award for today. It would be Dr. Vijitra. She is a final year postgraduate from Sri Ramchandra Medical College. Congratulations, Dr. Viji. And we have our final batsman for the day of OG Quest 6-day test match. It would be Dr. Kritika. Dr. Kritika is our own assistant professor in obstetrics and gynecology department, Sriha. She is a Ramachandra product, having done her MBBS and MS here with a work experience of 5 years. And Kritika's interest is in antenatal adolescent health, high-risk obstetrics and gynecology. Over to you, Kritika.
Thank you, Dr. Nandini. Good evening to everyone. Today, the most interesting topic, sterilization. So without any further delay, we'll start the session. So as you know, sterilization is a very important topic. So we are going to talk about male and female sterilization. So first, female sterilization, basically it is done as a mini laparotomy procedure. Either can be done under local anesthesia, regional or general anesthesia, and laparoscopic sterilization, plus male sterilization, which is a safe outpatient procedure and can be done under local anesthesia. So before going into the sterilization per se, we have to know about the certain situations where we need to be very careful about performing the procedure. So these are medico-legal liabilities that everyone has to take care of this. So these are the patients where we can accept directly without any further delay. Whereas in patients who are young and patients who are having other medical disorders, so it is important to delay for take caution and carefully assess the pros and cons and then decide. In the same way, you can delay the procedure for certain patients. If the patients have delivered more than 7 days and less than 42 days, it's not a safe period to perform a sterilization, puerperal sterilization procedure. As well as patients who are having evidence of prolonged rupture of membrane, patient who had eclampsia and hemoglobin of less than 7 grams, it is better to delay the procedure for the time being, and the procedure can be done at a later date. And special scenarios where you can anticipate a complication, or there are evidences that the procedure will be causing some kind of morbidity to the patient, you need to be addressed with a special care, and additional help has to be kept ready if we are going to perform the procedure in these patients. So these are the other medical disorders where we need to be careful. So moving on to the types of sterilization, there are interval sterilization and postpartum sterilization, which is commonly known as puerperal sterilization. So first we are going to see about the techniques of various sterilization methods, as well as we will see about the interval sterilization techniques. So the common procedure, as we all know, is the tubal ligation performed using, we will cut the fallopian tube, cauterize it and tie it. This is basically to prevent the eggs from reaching to the sperm, and the failure rate is very rare and it can vary according to the type of procedure. So as we know the parts of the fallopian tube, we will go ahead with the techniques of sterilization. Pomeroy's technique, it was discovered in the year 1930 by Ralph Harwood Pomeroy. The incision is suprapubic or subumbilical if it is a postpartum patient. The ischemic portion of the tube is ligated using catgut suture material and absorbable suture material, and the intervening portion of the segment is excised and hemostasis is checked. So this is easy technique, highly effective and relatively inexpensive and easy to perform, and the chances of complications in this procedure may include infection and bleeding if it is done as a mass campaign procedure without proper sterile technique. Otherwise the procedure has a very good effectiveness in preventing pregnancy. The failure rate is 0.4%. Same way, Parkland procedure, the next method of doing sterilization. So basically what we are going to do is we are going to ligate the tube and excise the intervening portion. We are just going to see different methods of how to do the procedure. So here the ischemic portion of the tube is cut. So first we will make a window in the mesosalpinx, and we'll separate the mesosalpinx in an avascular area, and then the medial end and the lateral end are tied separately, and the intervening portion of the tube is cut. This method is called Parkland's method. So the benefits, it reduces the natural tube reattachment so that both the tubes stays away. And the success rates are good and fewer complication and easy to perform. So the complications, ectopic pregnancy, as we all know, and time required for the procedure needs to be taken for some time. So the next procedure we are going to see is Irving's technique. It was method was published in the year 1924, was developed for concurrent sterilization during cesarean section. So basically here what we do is we cut and excise the tube, and the proximal tube is buried within the myometrium. So the original description, the distal tube is buried into the broad ligament, but which is not recommended, as well as it increases the bleeding tendencies of the patient. So it can be performed. The difficulty level is, it needs a lot of practice to perform this procedure compared to other techniques where Parkland and Pomeroy's are quicker and easier. The procedure time is much lesser. So another technique is called Uchida's technique. So it is a most complex method. Here, we are going to inject saline into the subserosal layer 2 centimeter distal to the cornua, and we try to separate the mesosalpinx. And the serosa is freed for about the fallopian tube for about 2 to 3 centimeters. And the proximal tube is ligated, and distal end of the freed tube is also ligated. So it can be easily performed immediately in the postpartum period. The complication, the difficulty in performing the procedure, as well as to remove the serosa, to separate these layers during the procedure, is little complex compared to other techniques. So moving on to the laparoscopic method, these are the open methods that we are commonly doing. So the most commonly done procedure is the Pomeroy's technique, and the second most common done procedure is Parkland. The methods of female sterilization, monopolar coagulation. So basically we use a coagulation monopolar cautery to coagulate and cut this end of the tube. So the complication, as you know, when you use a monopolar, there is more chance for injury of bowel, as well as bleeding, or any vessel can be damaged, which can also bleed. The second method is bipolar coagulation. This is the most commonly used laparoscopic method, where the coagulation is done at 3 different levels so that it blocks the tubes. This is called a 3-burn technique. So there are other techniques. The most and widely followed technique is Fallope ring. So basically it is a silicone band that can be applied on the tube like this. Usually 1 or 2 bands are applied. So it occludes the entire area, and over a period of time, the intervening portion of the tube undergoes avascular necrosis, and the tube gets disconnected. So if it is a thicker tube, then it is a problematic, because there is a chance that it can rupture and the tube can start bleeding. So it is always to know the complications, so that during laparoscopic procedures, there is no need to panic. It is important that we need to cauterize it, and eventually the bleeding will settle. So usually it is better to apply 2 rings if the tube is thick. If it is normal size, you can try applying 1 ring also. So the complications, patient discomfort during surgery is very minimal compared to other procedures. Laparoscopic procedures, tubal occlusion is accomplished by placing a spring clip around the fallopian tube. This is Hulka clip. So this is how the clip will be placed onto the tube, which causes pressure necrosis in this area, and the tube intervening portion of the tube gets ligated. The other method is Felshi tubal ligating system. It is an FDA approved system. Here the tubal occlusion is accomplished by placing titanium hinge clips lined with silicone rubber. So you can see here. So this will cause pressure necrosis. And second thing is, here you can see a small groove which has a larger tubal capacity, where even can be applied on the tube that are little edematous. And the advantage of this clip is it is titanium, it is inert to the MRI. Patient can be safely undergo MRI in a later age when it is required, as and when required, and minimal post-operative pain, and can be done at interval sterilization. So this is how these clips are applied. We can see the silicone band here. So the most commonest method and the failure rates and ectopic pregnancy chances. So these are the 3 methods. Usually Pomeroy's is the best method, 0.4% of failure rate. With cautery, as we cauterize only limited area, there is more chance for recanalization. Felshi skip, it is 0.22%. So the ectopic chance for Pomeroy's technique is 1.5 in 1,000 procedures, and bipolar cautery is 17.1%, 17.1 per 1,000 persons, and Felshi clip, it is 0 for 30,000 population. Those are the study reports. Other considerations to be taken: if patients must be discussed with the options that they have, and it must take place it should be a voluntary decision of the patient, and discussion of other options, and discussion about the method in which route the sterilization to be performed. And patient should clearly understand that it is a permanent method, and patient's age is an important factor, as well as the probability of failure has to be discussed, and special information about it is not a method of preventing STD. So whenever we talk about contraception, it is important to talk about STDs also to the patient. and considering special women with mental disabilities to delay the procedure. Male sterilization. So vasectomy is a safe and permanent method of birth control procedure. Vasectomy used by 10 to 15% of the married couple. Vasectomy is the technique of interruption of the vas deferens with an intention to provide a permanent contraception. So usually spermatogenesis takes about 72 days. So as you know, in the scrotum, we'll identify the vas and then we'll dissect the vas deferens separately and the tube is cut here. So here also we have medical eligibility criteria where we have to accept in these situations where we have to delay in certain conditions, and caution has to be taken of these situations, and special situations like coagulation disorder, cryptorchidism and inguinal hernia, where we need to be careful about the identifying the vas. There are two types of vasectomy, conventional vasectomy and the non-scalpel vasectomy. Here we do not use a scalpel. In non-scalpel vasectomy, we do not use a scalpel. We used to puncture the scrotum using a special instrument and dissect the skin layers and identify the vas deferens. So usually it is done as an office procedure. Approximately the patient can leave the hospital within an hour. The local anesthesia is infiltrated over the skin and clamp is placed on the vas after palpation. And this is using the conventional technique where they make an incision using a blade, and the incision is made and a small segment is tied, cut and cauterized. So post vasectomy, what are the things the patient has to take care is procedure basically. Post procedure semen analysis is a very important counseling that we need to give the patient. Here the sterilization will not happen immediately. The male genital system can still carry some amount of sperm. So it is important to educate the patient. So more than 20 ejaculations or at least for a period of 12 weeks, and repeat testing is usually done between 6 to 8 weeks. If it is found positive, we can wait up to 12 weeks to repeat another test. It is a very efficient method. The chance of reversal is very rare, but if reversal occurs, 50 to 70 chance for pregnancy can happen. So this is how the vas deferens is identified and local anesthesia is injected. And once an incision is made and vas is taken separately using a back box, and it will be cut and ligated. So in non-scalpel vasectomy, we have a special instrument. The skin opening will be less than 10 millimeter. By piercing the skin using a vas dissector, this is how the sharp the instrument will be. So the vas will be identified, and then the vas will be divided and the section will be occluded, and the same incision they'll pass on to the other side vas and they can identify and they can open it out. So this is how the ligature will be done. So persistence of any live, when do we call it a failure? The persistence of any live sperm after 6 months after surgery is called a vasectomy failure. The risk of pregnancy is approximately 1 in 2000 for men who have undergone post-vasectomy analysis of sperm analysis. And repeat vasectomy is necessary in less than 1% of the persons who have undergone the procedure. Follow-up, usually 8 to 16 weeks after vasectomy, the procedure, we do a post-vasectomy semen analysis. Men and their partner should use a contraceptive method. This is a very important part of the counseling when we are counseling the patient for vasectomy. So men and women, the partner should practice a contraceptive method until the success of vasectomy is confirmed by post-vasectomy semen analysis. And patient may stop using other methods of contraception when examination of a semen analysis has confirmed that there are no motile sperms in the azoospermia. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kritika. With this, we come to an end of our OG Quest 2021. I thank all the postgraduates for logging in and giving their cooperation for continuing our program. And I thank all the esteemed faculties from various colleges and our own faculties for making this OG Quest 2021 a grand success. And meet you soon in OG Quest 2022. Thank you, technical team, for your technical support throughout and your prompt correction with all our technical glitches. Thank you one and all, and good night.
Thank you, Divya. Thank you, Nandini and Sindhu and all of you. And thank you, tech team again, Kishore, Prathamesh and Sapan. And I'm sure the Sun Pharma people were watching and a couple of them had logged in. And so thank you very much. But Kishore and Sapan, please understand that this process doesn't stop today. There is one more small job which you guys need to do. The feedback forms need to be sent in, one. And two, the most important forms, there are 250 students already watching us. They will be wanting their certificates, the participation certificates. And so the participation certificates, after the Google form is being sent to us, we need to fill the participation certificates and send to their respective email IDs. And so that job is still yet to be done. We need to coordinate as to how we are going to do that participation certificates. And for the faculty, all the faculty, we need participation certificates as well. And Kritika and Divya, Sindhu, please look into it. And I'm also there. And so we will talk to Sapan and Kishore and Prathamesh, and we will get those things done as well. And is there anything else the students want to know? They can always feel free to contact us. And our HOD was quite happy to announce the opening of a new website called ogquest.in, where we will update all our programs, even the OGQuest program and any other scientific program which we keep on adding. And so that we will try and do. We are not too sure that we will do it before Pongal. So maybe after Pongal, we would like to do. That is one. And two is the Love to Labor conference, which I was mentioning you yesterday, will be sent. Divya, Sindhuja, please put that in the group, the Love to Labor conference brochure. Please put that in the group before the students leave the group so that you can take from the group, and the link is there. It is free for registration. So the link is there, and you could register for the conference. Even now it's on 23rd, 24th, only 2 days, and eminent faculty from all over the world are participating in it. And as I told you, Dr. Justice Hoffmeyer is giving the oration. Dr. Arul Kumaran is there. Dr. Jim Draycott, Vice President RCOG, is there. A lot of people are there. Dr. Kurian is there, Dr. PC Mahapatra, Foxy President Alpesh, and everybody. I mean, you name anybody and all of them are there for the conference. And I hope that you guys benefit out of it. That will not be case discussion, that will be lecture. And so you would benefit out of that as well. And please ask your faculty, your whole college to log in for those 2 particular days, because it's a huge big conference only on labor. So those who love labor can be definitely benefited out of that. And I'm not too sure whether Sun Pharma, the same technical team, is doing, but anyway, it was fantastic working with this technical team. And thanks once again, the tech team, Kishore, Sapan, and Prathamesh, and thanks to my OG support team and to the beautiful, lovely audience who were here. And people have been asking whether we will be able to give recordings, slides, etc. It's against the policy of the department and the university to give that. We will have an official website called ogquest.in, and we will try to put into that whatever is possible. Not only OGQuest proceedings, but also some other academic activities will be put in, surgeries and other conferences. So we will try to keep an update. We've still not planned it. It's a new venture which we've thought of in 2021, but we will decide that after Pongal, and Pongal is a big celebration here. And students, all the very best for your exams, and may you come out in flying colors. And please give us some time for the next couple of days till Pongal for us to relax and sit at home. And all these girls have small children. I have a big child at home, but anyway, I've never spent my time the last 1 month or so with the family. We've been working very hard for this. And so I think these ladies here have small children at home. They've left the children. They're still sitting in college. Every day by the time they go home, it's 9 o'clock. And so the children shouldn't call them aunties, and they should call them moms. And so because they are coming as visiting consultants here, no, they're coming as visiting moms home. And so thanks to the entire organizing team and the department. And thank you very much. And Kishore, anything else? Sapan, Prathamesh, you want to say anything else? And then we'll end the meeting.
So thanks a lot for giving us this opportunity. Thank you so much, sir.
Pleasure, Prathamesh. And Kishore.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks from the Sun Pharma
team. Yes.
We'll let you know about that Google links and all, sir. We'll get back to you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And so,
sir, thank you, sir. There are a few
Yes,
questions that has to be answered, sir. So I will answer it. So we'll have the meeting for another, like, not to close the links to the tech team.
The link they will not close. They will keep the open. Questions can be answered, isn't it, Kishore?
Yep. We'll wait, sir.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, go on. You're going to answer it open or you're going to answer it in the chat box, Kritika?
Sir, I can answer it open, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. So the questions for me are why it is not safe to safe in between 7 to 42 days postpartum for sterilization. The chances for infection is more, so that is the reason why we are not doing sterilization. It is the reason to delay, as the tubes will be edematous, as well as the chance for infection will increase, which will cause morbidity for the patient. As since sterilization is an elective procedure, better to avoid this time. So that is the answer for that question. What is modified polymerized technique exactly? How different it is? In polymerized technique, basically we place only one type of suture, that is we ligate the base of the loop that we have taken and we will cut it. Whereas in modified polymerized, we will tie another tie at the cut ends of the tube so that it is double ligated, so it is better. So that is modified and polymerized technique, two different techniques. So it's the same, it is just a little bit modification of the technique. And which part of the tube fallopian ring can be applied? It is the isthmus part of the tube. So that is where we apply the fallopian ring. As well as we try to see for the least avascular area. The important thing we have to see is all the tubes in all patients will not be the same length. So it is important to look at the tube and look for an avascular area, and the tube, the part in which you are going to apply the ring should be mobile. So it should not be too close to the cornua, as well as it should not be too close to the fimbria. As when you are picking up using an instrument, it will pull out a loop of tube. So make sure you have a good loop and it should not bleed. So that is the idea of putting the ring there, fallopian ring. So yeah, and today's feedback form will be posted in the group.
Today's feedback form will be sent to your mails.
Okay. For future recanalization, there's one more question. What is the precaution to be taken? See, if somebody is planning to reconceive again, it is better not to do sterilization at that point, because recanalization has its own advantages and disadvantages. If they are not sure, it is not a decision made by them. It is better to advise to choose a temporary method of contraception rather than choosing for sterilization. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Is that it? So do we call it a day and call it an event and close Divya, Sindhu?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fine. Thank you very much. Prathamesh, Kishore and Sapan is not there. Prathamesh and Kishore, thank you very much for staying with us throughout. We expect the same support in future programs as well.